In Eko then, there used to be a balance. Tojo bate Ehingbeti, ojo le teko. Literally meaning that for as long as there is water in Ehingbeti, commerce, wealth, job creation, everything that can turn around well will always be there.
Lush and green, surrounded by lagoons pouring into the Atlantic, water paths leading to Ehingbeti welcomed European explorers, then later slave traders to West Africa. The very beginning of Eko's interactions with the Western world and the booming commerce Lagos is known for today.
Ehingbeti symbolizes and signifies the extent of trade and commerce stretched from the Ehingbeti water channel to the 5 Cowries Creek. So the stretch, which later was christened or called Marina, is Ehingbeti. Then what is happening in and at Ehingbeti? Commerce.
From slave trade to maritime trade, and the thriving company of good entertainment at the quayside, a market the world could never ignore, emanated from Ehingbeti, Old Eko's earliest harbour.
The blue economy is nothing new. It has always been with us. For any coastal community in Nigeria, we've had fisheries, we've had maritime transportation, we've had tourism, we've had hospitality, we've had commerce at its peak, and of course we had the oceans. And it is all because there was the ocean that we could now talk about commerce. We could now talk about all other aspects of the maritime. So when the blue economy concepts came up, my team and I sat down and I said, Ehingbeti had the blue economy.
Ehingbeti borders the waters, a long stretch which includes the modern-day marina, the center of commerce in Lagos.
Between 1861 and 1975, the Lagos Harbour, Ehingbeti, was the gateway to West African trade. Vessels going to other parts of West Africa battered in Lagos. For you to understand trade and commerce of Eko, which essentially it's talking about blue economy, maritime economy. Do you know the story and the origin of the cotton wax which we wear, which we all call Ankara? There is a city in Turkey called Ankara. I think it's the capital now, from Ataturk. That will speak to the length of relationship, trade and commerce between Eko and Turkey. The cloth we all call Ankara, it's a cotton wax brought from Ankara, Aisho Ankara, Aisho Towalati Ankara, the cotton wax from Ankara. Just as we call this Akwaba, the cotton wax from Akwaba Textile in Accra, Ghana. It's not different from what Nike takes or other textile company does in Nigeria. It's the same cotton wax. But then the cotton wax from Ankara, Aisho Ankara, Aisho Towalat Ankara, Damask. I'm sure you know Damask. Damask was first imported into Lagos by my great-grandfather, Abibu Ajaoki, who also was the first crown prince merchant. He brought the fez cap and some other things. So that will tell you that blue economy has been in existence in Lagos like forever.
The port of Lagos was in Ehingbeti, and we had all the facilities, the customs were there. The exact point where the port was is the parking lot directly opposite the UBA building on the marina. Before the upper port was built, that was when the port that was taking in cargo, very few cargo, and then you had the ships. The lagoon was dredged, and the ships will take maybe sometimes it will take 2 vessels, ocean going vessels, cargo vessels, and then when they discharge, they go off. The others will queue up in the marina there. The outer marina then is not where you have it now. You know, that stretch of land was sandfield to give you that new outer marina road they have outside the parking lot of the UBA you have in UBA. That was the end, that was where the water was. And then you had along that stretch coconut trees stretching up to and including where you have the general hospital now.
The stretch, called Ehingbeti, begins from the Ehingbeti Channel through to 5 Carries, Onikan. It housed the decommissioned presidential yacht SS Valiant, used by Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Nigeria's first president. The vessel later became the popular shoreside restaurant known as Floating Buka in Ehingbeti.
What we are seeing in Ehingbeti today, if we look at it from the local account, it's something that was like well planned for. Okay, it attracted Europeans into Lagos after it had been the neglected backwater. Then it became the center of slave trading activities and later the most important maritime parts of West Africa.
Ehingbeti had a Victorian countryside, home to the notable Lagos families of Herbert Macaulay, Ajayi Crowther, Gbajabiamila, Shita Bey, Ibrahim Okposi, Savage, Oki, Randall, Williams, Onigbanjo, and Blaze, to mention a few.
The people who grew up in that community are, a little bit more educated, more civilized, more, influential than the people from other areas because of their interaction with these experts coming on board, coming down to play with them, and this, a little bit of smuggling of commodities, shirts, trousers, things, gold, was thriving there. You could buy anything, from that area, and it was quite exciting. People who live there lived better than people who live in other segment of the city.
The indigents first made contact with foreign ships, Western education, Western religion, and foreign culture, which is reflected in today's Lagos.
Ehingbeti nígbà yẹn, ibẹ̀ ni àwọn ọkọ̀ òyìnbó máa ń dúró tó máa gbé ọjà wá láti ìlú òyìnbó, ibẹ̀ ló máa dúró. Àwọn èèyàn wa náà tó ń pẹja tó máa gbọ́kọ̀ lọ rà torí kò tíì fi bẹ́ẹ̀ sí ọ̀nà mọ́tò. ọkọ̀ náà máa fi gbé wá sí etí ọ̀dọ̀ wa níbí gbogbo kan tán àwọn náà gbé ẹja lọ fáwọn tí òyìnbó tó fẹ́ rà torí àwọn òyìnbó yẹn inú ọkọ̀ yẹn náà ń gbé torí bẹ́ẹ̀ ni okòwò Èkó wà nígbà yẹn.
Gbogbo marina Ehingbeti ibẹ̀ ni àwọn ẹlẹ́ja kọ́kọ́ máa ń wà táwọn òyìnbó pàápàá tó bá sọ̀kalẹ̀ láti inú ọkọ̀ wọ́n rẹja wọ́n ra kàn wọ́n redé àwọn tí a bá níbi ẹja yìí gbogbo wọn náà bímọ tó jẹ́ pé iṣẹ́ ọdẹ yìí òun náà fi rán wọn lọ́dún òyìnbó.
Maritime trade thrived and major brands took up stores in Ehingbeti.
The streets adjoining the terminal was full of expatriate companies, Zaid, Pleventis, Kingsway, Goshawk. They were exporter of goods like cocoa, groundnut, cements. They will put them on the floor to dry. At the end of the day, they now put them in sacks and put them on the ships that will take all of them to abroad. That is the high street of Lagos, where we had almost all commercial activities. The Central Bank was there, marine, the church was there, that is an Anglican church, Methodist church, the mosque. So it was the center of development at that time in Lagos State. All musicians were singing the praise of Ehingbeti.
Ehingbeti thrived as a maritime hub until the port was moved to Apapa.
Apapa Port was created as a result of the volume of trade, as a result of consignments coming in and out of the Lagos harbour. And of course, as commerce grew, port activities will grow. And that is what have affected, the relocation of the Lagos harbour, Ehingbeti.
If that harbour was well organized, I am sure that we would have indigents who would have gone into the maritime space, but there was no inclusion. The same problem we are having with Gulf of Guinea is because the youths and the indigents are not intentionally engaged. But look, the mistake we're making is this. These children, they know all about waters. They know when the tide is high. They know where you can go to before the breakwaters and what can be averted.
Today, there are 2 river ports, Lagos Port Complex and Tinkan Island Port, and 2 new deep sea ports, Lekki and Badagry, which is still underway.
From Apapa, they're looking at the new Lagos, which is the Lekki deep sea port. And Lagos State has never had any business with port activities except this one, that they have a substantial percentage. And that is why my team and I decided to make it a clarion call, a wake-up call for Lagos State, so that yes, the revenue generation will be there, but we don't want it to die or go moribund like Ehingbeti. And now if you look at Apapa, it's almost an elixir of itself. Everybody is now moving towards the new Lagos and the last Lagos. And definitely that is where the blue economy will reside. But the indices must be well spelled so that Lagos State will know how to package and package well for the future, because it is all about sustainability in blue economy.
Looking at the economic impact of the ocean resources, but using it in such a sustainable manner that you won't leave out any other person, any other stakeholder. That's the layman explanation of what the blue economy entails. Looking at not just what the ocean resources can give to us, not only the services it can give to us, what are we doing to ensure that the ocean will continue to be giving us these resources and these services? It is the human being that is the crux of the matter. It is our activities that impact either positively or negatively on what nature has given to us free of charge. So the blue economy is trying to harness all these activities, harness both the resources, both the environment, and all the human beings to ensure that we take cognizance of the role of every player in the economy.
Ibi tá fi ṣe Ehingbeti níjọ sí ìjọba ti gbà, wọ́n ti ṣe bíríìjì sí, wọ́n ti ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ sí. Níbi tá tún wà létí omi náà, wọ́n tún lé wa débí, a tún wà níbí, wọ́n tún fẹ́ lé wa kúrò. Báwo la yìí fẹ́ ṣe? Kò ní síṣẹ́ apẹja mọ́. Iṣẹ́ tá à ń ṣe yìí owó ńlá ni tí ò gbọdọ̀ parun, because this our culture wa nìyí, tradition wa nìyí. Tọ́n bá yẹ jẹ́ kí iṣẹ́ ẹja pípa wà mọ́, wọ́n ti lé owó, wọ́n ti pa culture wa, wọ́n ti bàjẹ́, wọ́n ti gba iṣẹ́ tí àwọn bàbá wa fi lélẹ̀ fún wa, wọ́n ti gbà lọ́wọ́ wa. Kí ni wọ́n fẹ́ ká máa ṣe? Kí ni wọ́n fẹ́ ká máa jẹ?
The global call for the entrenchment of blue economy by the International Maritime Organization is deepening. Maritime nations are taking stock of their areas of advantage and developing policies that are holistic and workable.
Due to the nature of different segments of economy indices, country after country, they consider the issue of blue economy as a normal norms in terms of realizations of the benefits of that blue economy. But after the conference of the United Nations in Rio de Janeiro in 2012, the United Nations tried to introduce the concept of the blue economy, particularly to the developing countries, so that we can make maximum use of the ocean resources that we have around us. And in so doing, they want a sustainable use of that ocean resources in a very sustainable manner.
All these human activities, they have impact on the ecosystem as a whole. Are we utilizing it in such a way that the ecosystem will be able to regenerate, replenish itself? The way nature is built is that there are some resources that are naturally able to rebuild themselves.
While Ehingbeti represents one of Nigeria's earliest interactions with an encompassing and thriving maritime economy, which slipped up, the port industry, Lekki Deep Sea Port, seems to be the part of the blue economy receiving the state's attention.
The Lekki Deep Sea Port has brought in the concept of inclusivity, whereby everybody will be carried along, so that the issue of sociocultural menace will not come up along the line, that we are not being given consideration and so on and so forth, so that in the long run those young ones will not become a very serious menace and disturb the peace of the environment, and let them have the sense of ownership that yes, this is our area, we want it to grow, we want it to develop, like that. And eventually when this development comes, all of us will be happy for that.
So local community, we consider them very, very important. Mark you, the issue of blue economy can never be achieved if we don't have firm security, infrastructure, and then good governance. Good governance in terms of interventionary policies. the interventionary policies must come from the federal government, state government, and then cascade it down to the local communities to ensure that these things work in line and in tandem with what is being intended for. So in developing our own concept and the strategy, we have taken the local communities into considerations, and we streamline the whole segment of the local communities, be it the local fishermen, to see how we can change their psyche and change their perceptions and thinking into the conceptual, technological aspect of fishing.
There is no development, to be candid, that has no impact. There is no development at all that has no impact. But how are we managing the impact? Are we managing it in such a way that it will not be too detrimental to the others? The impact on one will not be adverse on the other. Everyone has a role to play, plays his or her role properly. Nature is there. Nature will always be there. And if you mistreat nature, nature will mistreat you. That's the reality that we human beings are seeing right now. And that is what sustainability and this blue economy is talking about.
No matter how big a community or environment is, it cannot be greater than its culture. Unfortunately, that is what we are experiencing. So what do we need to do? Let us stop the nonsense which we call intrusion and expansion. Let us recreate, but more importantly, let's go back to the basics, where there will be community ownership of projects, where there will be community ownership of economic activities. When you displace a community, if you are not careful, you are also displacing heritage. It has affected Lagos. ECO has paid for it. So the question is, should we continue?
I want to see a better arrangement in that axis with the indigents. Number one, they all don't have to be PhD holders, but I am proposing let them have Maritime Soft Skills Academy for them. Net making, improve the fisheries and aquaculture arrangements there. Lagos State has started something along that line, but we need more. And when we talk about hospitality, maritime hospitality, they have cultural displays where they can go on a boat cruise, even sports in maritime. They can start it there. You don't have to be a PhD holder or a BSc in maritime before you start all that. Within the community for the indigents, then there will be security. We won't have piracy. Then, above it all, the revenue generation will increase. So these are areas we want Lagos State to look towards. And I'm so happy that the royal father of the day is no other person than the Oniru of Iruland, which is a historical stool. Because when Ehingbeti was in existence, where that cathedral church is, was the first Oniru Palace. And they were in control of the waters. The taxes Nimasa is collecting now. We had people that were commissioned, licensed agents to be collecting tax from those canoes. So even taxation in maritime is nothing new. It wasn't revenue generation, but meant for the maintenance and sustenance of the harbor. the new land in Lekki is now, by His grace, having the royal father who is now an Oniru in that axis. That is why I'm saying that the Oniru stool is very strategic in that axis. This will come to play for the royal father to know how to manage the blue economy in that axis.